Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I am back with another video, and today I am going to be talking to you guys about some revelations about Masters of the Universe. It's a little bit something different than I normally talk about, because usually I'm just kind of covering the news, but this is kind of something that I was talking about on my live stream, which I'm going to be using clips from to discuss, because it has to do with Kevin Smith and his actual fandom with Masters of the Universe, and he seems to not be very truthful and honest about what he's talking about. The trailer had come out on Thursday, and I gave it a pretty positive, but objectively criticized some of the cool stuff within it. And I get into deeper stuff with this clip here, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. And, you know, it kind of makes me feel like, it worries me more than I want it to for the show, even though I hope the show is good nonetheless. Without further ado, let's sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. We've got someone who wants to rip and tear.
Look, whatever I'm being accused of totally didn't happen. It was that other guy. Okay, seriously, thank you for the invite, Rodimus. I enjoy your channel. I haven't familiarized myself with the other gentleman on chat, so I'll be sure to do so. But yeah, the entire situation with the He-Man revelation is making me have a big think here, man. Something ain't right.
Now, was this leaked or something? Because, like I said, I saw the trailer. And I saw something, and I saw another article about it's going to be woke and stuff and everything, but I didn't see anything else about it. So was this leaked or something?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, my personal value, and I know Rodimus is aware of this, I put a lot less stock into the ideology of whether or not something's woke than I do whether or not it's well written. And Two things here. Number one, Kevin Smith has been caught lying multiple times about how much of a fan he is with this and his involvement with the original franchise in terms of nostalgia. And on top of that, I mean, come on, man. One of the writers for the new Transformers trilogy is on this, and we all know how that goes. Forgive me! So,
yeah.
It's not even, sad thing is, when it comes to things like truth, you don't even need to wait for something leaked or some behind the scenes. These people wear what they're like and who they are on their shoulders. And they always have, and they always will. Like, Kevin Smith went on this big Netflix stream talking about, I always went home between the years of 1981 and 1982 and watched He-Man and Masters. That came out in 1983. Now, there are people who go, well, it's just a date. Plus, he's a stoner. Plus, he had a heart attack / stroke. I don't know which it is. My argument for the first part is, if I'm in charge of a franchise and I'm proclaiming my love of things, I'm going to double check before I say something that stupid, especially on an edited video. Secondly, if his alleged issue with marijuana or his physical issue is enough to give him a pass for being stupid, then why is he on anything? But that's not just it. If it was just the dates, might be able to pass that. But
here take a look at this, and I'm going to bring this up, Lyle, because here is Kevin Smith. And he talks about the dates, right? We know that Masters of the Universe came out in 1983.
When I was a kid, I'd watch He-Man and Masters of the Universe when I got home from school. From 1981 to 82, it was a ritual. When I was a kid, I'd watch He-Man and Masters of the Universe when I got home from school. From 1981 to 82, it was a ritual. From 1981 to 82, it was a ritual.
And the toys came out in 82, right? The toys came out in 82, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But he says 81 in this video.
Oh, yeah, wait. Come on now.
81, he was 11 years old.
Yeah, he knew what he was watching. Why lie? Why lie about it, though? I mean, you're going to get caught. Because come on.
Yeah.
Why lie?
These corporate people are so arrogant, man. They never think they're going to get caught in anything.
Yeah. I mean, 11 years old when he says 81. 83, he'd be what, 12, 13?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So around 11, 13, I was still into Nintendo. I was still into the nerdy stuff. So I get that, right? But here's the thing. I wasn't a He-Man fan, but Gala, and this is January 13th, 2010. 11 years ago from today, or 11 and a half years ago, he says, I wasn't a He-Man fan. All right, so it's okay if you're not a fan and you say like I remember when He-Man came out, I wasn't that big into it, but I tell you this much, I'm into it now. That would be honest.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That would be honest.
Definitely.
This is dishonesty because he's saying, "Hey, I was not a He-Man fan. I'm a He-Man fan." Now, am I as a hardcore He-Man fan as, let's say, like, I don't know,
Transformers?
Nope. But I'll admit that. But am I a Transformers guy? Yeah. Right? Am I a Thundercat? I like Thundercats. I really love Thundercats, but I don't love Thundercats like Lio does.
Nobody does. It's a mental disorder.
Yes, Lio, I think you have a mental disorder.
But no, the thing is, like, all right, so good example, since we were talking about Transformers, is Bob Ford, Larry DeCillo, right? They had never before Beast Wars written anything for Transformers. So what did they do, gentlemen, when they started writing Transformers?
They went back to the fans.
Research.
Wait. Larry DeCillo and Bob Forward. Remember those names.
Mm-hmm.
They were He-Man writers.
Correct.
They were writers on He-Man. Both of them can actually be accredited to the creation of, you wait for it, She-Ra.
Yes.
They were in part the creators of She-Ra. Larry DeCillo and Bob Forward. Where do those names fall as far as Transformers is concerned? Deluxe, answer me that. Larry DeCillo and Bob Forward. You know?
The beginning?
Beast Wars.
Oh, Beast Wars. Okay, no, I'm way off. Golly.
They knew nothing. They knew nothing. We know Michael Bay knew nothing about Transformers.
Yeah.
Larry DeCillo and Bob Forward knew nothing of Transformers.
But they went back and did some research. And
they went back and talked to us.
Uh-huh.
Not me,
now,
but they went back and talked to the fans.
Do we know? Well, did Kevin Smith do that?
No.
Okay, he did. Okay.
No.
If he would have done that, I think people would have been okay. That's fine. But you said you don't know much about He-Man, but at least you went back and did some research and got people, the fans, at least their input a little bit, and you took that input and you put it towards this. Then I think people would have been more acceptable of that.
Well, gentlemen, it unfortunately goes a little deeper than that because the head of He-Man currently in terms of Mattel stuff is Rob David. And that name probably doesn't sound familiar to anybody here, but Rob David's the guy who did the New 52 He-Man run that was a bunch of dark, edgy nonsense that turned She-Ra into a murderer. He was involved in scripting the Thundercats He-Man crossover, which was an absolute mess of continuity and characterization. And he's also the guy who did He-Man and Injustice, and that was absolute dog crap too. That's the guy they put in charge of this. So I'll be real concise here. If you have a He-Man property and there's these three people not involved in it in one way, shape, or form, it's going to be hot garbage. James Eatock, Penny Dreadful, or Eric Marshall, when one of those three are not involved in any way, shape, or form, it's going to be hot garbage because these people have no clue what they're doing with this property.
Yeah, well, this guy right here, the small guy on his podcast.
I used to watch those. I used to watch that show.
Literally says, I don't like He-Man. It's kind of corny. And then Kevin Smith, well, I don't have no love for He-Man either.
I have no love for He-Man. I know, but I have no love for He-Man either.
He says it.
Cotton 4K.
He says it.
And do you think that they got all the these famous voice actors like Mark Hamill and all that thing just to cover to cover up poop, basically to shine a turd like a shiny turd?
Probably.
But then he did this face.
Look at all these people. Yeah, look at all these voice actors we're getting.
But guys, he cried.
But here's the thing. He goes off and he says, okay, like I was watching He-Man from 81 so he has no love for it. But you're saying you do. Now, here's the thing. Before this past couple of days, I had turned a blind eye to this. I'm going to admit it. Okay? I was not paying attention to Kevin Smith's, fiascos about what he said because he was actively talking to fans, let's say at PowerCon and stuff like that. So I wasn't really, and because I'm a Jersey guy and I kind of want to stick up for Jersey because Jersey is a bad rap. Even though I'm a New Yorker who lives in Jersey, but still, okay. You know, and I've been to his place in Red Bank, which is actually, I would say, about 40 minutes north of me. He has a comic book shop in Red Bank.
Yeah.
And it does not have it's a comic book shop, but he doesn't stock comic books that he doesn't like. He doesn't stock Transformers comic books. He doesn't stock certain things. You'll find Batman comic books, the most up-to-date comic books of Batman. He'll find Superman. You'll find, Marvel stuff. You'll find box sets for the Ninja Turtles, and then you'll find these giant collectibles. And it's a very cramped comic book store. Very cramped. He himself says he doesn't like He-Man. All right, well, if you don't like He-Man, but you say, I want to respect He-Man, even though I was a little too old for it, I would respect that more than saying that you watched it every day after school, and then find out that it's 10 years later, and that you say that you don't. Like, to me, that's a lie, and I don't like the lie.
Well, you're just a toxic fan, Rodimus. How dare you doubt our beloved our beloved promoter here? I mean, clearly he's telling the truth, and all of these receipts saying otherwise are just deep fakes done by. Wait, I gotta come up with a new the Bully Cabal of Boomer cartoons. There we go. The Boomer Cabal, the Boomer Cabal of Bully cartoons. Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, here's the thing, because he comes across like he's like a super fan. Now, if he was saying that he was a fan of, like, if he was making a Batman, then again, we know what he did in Batman to retcon Batman Year One, right?
Yeah. Don't remind me. I have a friend of mine that brings that up and messes with me every time. Like, I'm really enjoying this Batman. Hey, you remember that time Kevin Smith made him wet himself? I'm like, yeah, thank you, Jace. Appreciate it.
He made Batman wet himself during Year One, yeah. Now, I am not I don't subscribe to a lot of these other reactionary channels.
Yeah.
But I do watch a couple. I have watched a lot of their videos, so I see them. I see you guys talking about them in the chat, and I don't want to I don't want to try and create beef, because I don't necessarily 100% agree with any of them.
I will not, because I am a guest on this channel.
And yeah, and I know you're more of a reactionary channel, Io. I usually don't do a lot of reactionary stuff, but here's the thing. Like, I get like a lot of people's concern, because that trailer was exciting, was exhilarating.
Yeah, I like it.
But if you are like Lio and you look at the animation, you're gonna
get angry. You're gonna get
very angry. And when you actually take a deeper look at the animation, you can understand why. The animation that bothered me was the fact that there was no impact frames, and you brought it up, Lio, was that like whiplash kick. I loved the kick at first glance, but then you're like, it kind of looks a little weird. Why does it look a little weird? Oh, it's because it's a wireframe, and they just moved the wireframe out of the way. Yep.
I think the correct term is tweening for that, but yeah, it's literally like when you have one action figure kick into the other one, and it just falls over while not changing expression. They didn't even have to use smear frame. They didn't have to use an impact frame. They just had to change his slight body language and his facial expression. They couldn't even handle that.
Yeah. It did not look weird. I mean, it looked weird. And then John Clawfield brings up Triclops' hand. That weird color.
Yeah.
Just like, what's going on with that? And then, you can try to chalk it up for lighting, but why is the lighting not? It would be a little bit more universal. Like, it would be a little bit more up the body, and it's just one off-color hand.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't look right.
And this is digital animation, so they can't make the excuses we ran out of paint.
But I will give them the benefit of the doubt in making an exciting-looking trailer. Yeah,
I'm still going to watch it. I mean, I'm going to watch it. I'm still excited a little bit.
I'm still going to watch it. Yeah. I still want to see what they do with it. I am not pleased with that Tila image. And I understand you want to update Tila's armor, but at least make Tila still look like Tila. This is the squint test thing.
Yeah, right. The squint test. Because, I mean, I understand updating looks, but come on. Make her a little more iconic. And we had other channels say, well, she's in her traditional outfit. No, she's not. The color scheme's traditional, granted. But every outfit on every character, with the exception of maybe Skeletor, is a wild variance. Now, I know they went with the He-Man H from the Battle Armor action figure. For the obvious reason, they want to avoid the cross.
I would say it kind of is a blend of the 80s cartoon, the Filmation like look, and the 2000X series. But anyway, but I brought this up because you know how everybody rags on Transformers and G.I. Joe, and I would even say He-Man and Ninja Turtles for bad, or Thundercats even for bad animation. You know how all the modern people who hate.
Yeah, I'm aware, and all of them are dumb and don't know animation.
I'm bringing this up because every single cell in He-Man, all animation up until I want to say 10 years ago or 15 years ago was all done with hand-drawn animation.
It's not quite accurate. There was a shift from how they would animate starting in the early 2000s, actually. And technically, animation is still hand-drawn. It's just it went from traditional to digital, allegedly. Now, keep in mind, allegedly, to save time and money that, in theory, they should be able to put to making things more dynamic, more detailed. But as things have gone on, and as Saturday morning cartoons have died, and as the industry has failed to properly modernize, we get things with a lot less detail, a lot less stunning animation. There is some good stuff out there. At some point, I need to do like a video about the modern stuff I do like. Because, you know, what us old people, we have this stigma about it. So, well, everything new is dumb. It's not all like that. But the point is, like, they haven't kept up because they're corporate ran now. And they're not even like corporate ran like Walt used to run his thing, where he was a shrewd businessman and a very cunning, creative mind. They're just all corporate, and they cannot grasp these things. It's why Thundercats has failed at every single turn. Like, again, the guy who did it, Victor Courtwright for Roar, was completely confused the reaction he got. That only happens when you exist in a bubble.
Yeah.
Detail.
This is the point I'm trying to make. G1 Transformers and G.I. Joe were animated in Japan by Toei, but Filmation was here at home. And they were animated with hand-painted animation cells. It was hand-painted animation cells in Japan. But here's the difference between how He-Man handled it and, let's say, like G.I. Joe and Transformers. Well, He-Man was all hand-drawn, but they rotoscoped a lot the people walking. Mm-hmm. They rotoscoped. In other words, they would film actual people, like a bodybuilder, and they filmed him in costume to be He-Man, and then they drew over him, and they had all of that motion, and they just drew over it for a blank animation cell that they would place on top of these hand-painted drawings, and they were huge. I mean, you see something like Snake Mountain, or you see the throne room for the Sorceress. Look at all the detail on that. You know, I mean, it's incredible. Right? It's just incredible backgrounds. I mean, even some of the weird, funky forests.
And you know, that's one thing I want to bring up to all these people who go online. It's like, well, look at this one specific scene of an 80s cartoon that has really bad animation. The best response you can get these people is, they didn't have Control-Z back then. What's your excuse? Because I'm a digital artist. I recognize the use of the Control-Z, which means you can undo what you did. If anybody's ever painted on any sort of canvas, I don't care what it is, oil, acrylic, whatever. If you screw up, you are going to hate yourself. And in the worst case scenario, you got to go back and redo the whole doggone thing. And that's what these people had to do back in the day. There is a specific skill to proper draftsmanship, proper painting, and proper pacing. And as much as people like to say, well, make sure that this new video game we paid $60 to $100 for with a ton of glitches, make sure you're really polite about it, because the artists and coders had to be on crunch time. Every 80s property in one way or another was on crunch time.
They were on crunch time.
To Filmation. A lot of people will point saying, well, He-Man didn't have very good animation. And that's when you can engage them like, all right, what did they do that was bad? Because 9 times out of 10, they're parroting the same nonsense that John Crispallucci, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, insert, thing here that YouTube won't demonetize Rodimus for. Let's say wink, wink, nudge, nudge, too many of the little ones. But that's something he propagated because he worked in Filmation and he was miserable because he wasn't doing what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if you actually look at it, the reason why they move the way they do, again, is because they're rotoscoped. That's not bad animation. Animation is about movement and the illusion of life. He-Man being able to run, jump, throw, and roll like a human being does is a mark of good animation. These are the same people who can't tell you the difference between 1s, 2s, and 3s, or 24 versus 12 versus 6. They're more interested in, well, does the scene have a bunch of flashy explosions? Well, yeah, that can be fun. That can be good, but that doesn't mean the animation itself is good. Sometimes that's just used to cover up a complete mess of things.
You know, the thing is that if you study any bit of animation, you would be passionate about wanting to see good animation come out and good storytelling come out. You want to move the characters forward. Fine, let's make good animation. Let's make good storytelling. You know, I mean, we're not gonna get to Akira levels of animation.
But we can now. That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
But like you said with the Kevin Smith, you know, you're going off, 40 years later off of He-Man.
Yep.
If you change this, I mean, you've got to go back to the story. You've got to do your research like he's supposed to, and then if he's going, if you want to tweak some things here and there, like you said, Tila, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. I still know it's Tila, but you can't just change everything and then expect the fans, the older fans, which that's the ones probably more excited than just newer fans, because a lot of people don't know who He-Man is. Older fans do. So
we were told this was for the older fans. So if anybody comes at you saying it's not for you, stick them in the eye with that nonsense. And I said this in a previous stream, I'll say it again. Never let them live that down. Never be quiet about that. If this thing sucks like I'm pretty sure it's going to, don't let them live it down and never forget. And anybody who tries to yell you down, well, you're being negative. Life isn't all about positivity and making you feel good. If you cannot understand or comprehend negative things, you're in for a rough ride. What is it Jaga said to Lion-O? A ruler must learn to take the bad with the good. Welcome to life.
Yeah. So I just want to say just that in particular, and before we finished our chat with He-Man, because I think we've ranted enough. But the last point I want to make is exactly that. They say it's not made for you. Well, this is Masters of the Universe Revelation. It is being sold as a sequel series. This is who this show is made for. The show is made for the adult audience who grew up watching He-Man and want to see He-Man brought so that they can see it revived today. A continuation of He-Man that we didn't necessarily need a continuation of He-Man, but they want to revive the franchise.
They said in the trailer. It was the first thing, after 40 years,
right.
This is everything. So you better make it for us.
Exactly.
Because that's who you're
it's not made for me. Which means that
who are you making it for?
But if it's made for me, then I have room to complain if it's not good, don't I?
Yeah, everybody has room to complain.
No, you have to be super positive. Otherwise, you're a big, mean, toxic fan person. Let me dig through your Twitter thing and see if I can find you saying something mean about random. Aha! You said that was dumb on May 2nd, 2006. I'm canceling you. BRB. Yeah.
He-Man was on syndication early in the 90s as well, so it went on. It continued on because the 1987 movie, which didn't do well.
Well, they say after 40 years, we had the 2000X and we had the New Adventures of He-Man.
That would be great.
Are we magically forgetting those exist? Also, real quick before you close the stream out, I would ask one thing.
I'm not ending the stream. I wanted to stop talking about He-Man. I wanted to move on from He-Man.
Can we make one roundabout here real quick where we go around the table and we ask what you think is going to happen in the series? Because I have a pretty good idea of what I think is going to happen.
I have no clue what's going to happen.
If I was being positive, and I thought seriously, if I'm being positive, and I think the way the show is going to go, based upon the synopsis, it sounds a lot like Final Fantasy VI during the Floating Continent, which I even said this on Twitter, was that Kefka knocked the world out of balance, destroyed the world, and Celeste had to get everybody back together. She became the main character of the World of Ruin, but she wasn't the main character at the beginning of the game. And that was done because they wanted to try and cope with loss. But this is, so this, in my eyes, I think what's going to end up happening is He-Man and Skeletor are going to have their classic battles like we're expecting. We're going to see all of these characters in a rendition of modernized version of classic costumes and looks, and characters are going to have their big, giant, supersized fight, and Skeletor is going to win. he is going to take the Power Sword, and he's going to gain the secrets of Grayskull, and it's going to turn He-Man back into Prince Adam in front of Teela, who then finds out that, yes, she is the daughter of the sorceress, and that Prince Adam is He-Man. And then Skeletor is going to basically destroy the world, so to speak, and it's going to become like Mad Max. And so all of the Masters are going to get spread out, and they're going to have to flee from Skeletor's might and power. And Teela is going to try and get everybody to regroup. Evelyn is going to get betrayed by Skeletor, so that's why she is going to join forces with Teela. But Teela is going to be trying to get everybody back together because she is supposed to be the next sorceress, and try to find out where Adam got banished to, so that she can rescue him and bring him back so he can become He-Man and stop the might of Skeletor once and for all. That's my positive look at what I think is going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's going to last one season. That's it.
Now,
go ahead.
Go ahead and tell me what you think.
Here's what I think is going to happen. King Randor is going to be critically injured, prompting Skeletor to feel more free to assault Grayskull. At some point, Adam has to transform into He-Man in a way that reveals his secret identity. Then there's going to be a battle, and through some trickery or stroke of luck, Skeletor is going to gain control of the Power Sword and become Skelegod, since this was already spoiled in the new toy line, and the Sorceress will likely be killed, because that's what Rob David did in New 52. This will lead to the heroic warriors being scattered and enemies of Skelegod's new order. He-Man will likely be MIA, Teela, Orko, Evelyn, who will defect because it suits her purposes, will go on a quest to try and defeat Skelegod, while Teela discovers her destiny to become the new Sorceress. Skelegod will send various enemies to track and kill them, like Merman, Scarecrow, etc. That's what I think is going to happen.
That sounds more probable.
Man, y'all thought about this a lot. I haven't. I just watched the trailer and like, okay, I'll watch it.
I drive a lot for a living, so I have a lot of time to think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see either one of them. I mean, both of them are great. The way you just said that, Ronald, I think that would be a great storyline. I think it would be good. But I think the way that they portrayed He-Man during the trailer, as he had the cloak on, whatever, everything, he was Drifter or something like that kind of thing going on. I think it was trying to lean over to what Leo was talking about. Like he was, they had to find He-Man or something. Teela goes looking.
Well, pretty much it's kind of like the same, very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. But it's, I like the idea of, if Prince Adam was banished, he might be feeling sorry for himself, and Teela might actually have to get him to come. Look, I found out you're He-Man. You are the hero. You need to rise up. Now that was
the song. It's that song. So.
Here's the thing, though. That would be better than what happened to Luke Skywalker.
Well, that rod's on the ground and rusting.
Yes, I'm only bringing that up for the comparison's sake. I'm not bringing it up because I want to talk Star Wars.
I'm not even a Star Wars fan. Trust me, I get it.
Yes. So the whole idea is that you need to treat the characters with respect, even if a cataclysmic event like that happens and it turns Eternia into Mad Max land.